It's been a 24 hours full of twists, turns, pacts and drama as nationally the Conservatives hold on to power just by forming a coalition with Unionist party, the DUP. Theresa May has faced calls to resign. Corbyn has claimed victory, but his party is still the second biggest. All of that, though, is just the national picture. Over the next hour, we have all the local reaction from Leeds as we find out what the results really mean for us in our city. Let's move on to one of the other pillars of your manifesto, social care. The situation in Leeds, we've had 3 care homes close. A Labour-run council has increased the precept on council tax, they say, to partly pay for social care to look after the people in this city. What assurances can you give the people of Leeds that what you're pledging in this manifesto will mean less of a hike in the future?
Well,
Hello, welcome back to Made TV News with all the news that matters to you. And let's take a look at some of the stories getting the UK talking now. And a new commission is calling for more research to be done to look into the positive effects that song can have in the care of people suffering from dementia. The Commission on Dementia and Music says singing to patients or loved ones can have a dramatic effect on how well a person with the disease interacts as it progresses. In just over 20 years' time, 2 million people are likely to have dementia in the UK, and the body wants the country to be the best in the world in how we treat and care for those affected.
Don't take my sunshine away. The end of our story.
Well, earlier I spoke to Nicole over Skype. Nicole, thanks for coming on the programme today. I've got to say that every time I watch the video on your project, I get very emotional, tears in my eyes at that. What prompted you at first, because you did a wonderful thing for your grandmother, what prompted you at first to start singing to her?
Well, you know, she always sang to me when I was younger, and she would usually sing when I was sick or needed comfort. And so then I started singing to her when she seemed a little off.
Yes, welcome to this Leeds Results Special, and over the next hour we're live here in the Decision Made studio and on location in the city as we bring you the numbers that matter and indeed how the night was won and lost here in Leeds. We'll also be joined by Christian Johnson and Peg Alexander. They're both in different parts of Leeds Northwest. Christian in Otley and Peg in Hyde Park next to Headingley, and that's because the major story of the night where we're concerned is that the constituency held by the Lib Dems and Greg Mulholland for 12 years swung to Labour and candidate Alex Sobel. We'll get a reaction from Greg's supporters and those at the Brudenell Social Club who appeared to be galvanised by a visit from Jeremy Corbyn and helped to oust the incumbent MP. And this leads us very nicely to this. This is the constituency map of Leeds, and this is what it looked like after the 2015 election. Of course, you had Conservatives in Pudsey, in Morley and Atwood, and in Elmer and Rothwell, and Labour holding the central Leeds seats, Leeds Central, Leeds East, Leeds North East, and Leeds West, with the Lib Dems in Leeds North West. But this is how it looks now. As you can see, not a lot has changed apart from one thing. Leeds North West has swung from the Lib Dems and Greg Mulholland to Labour and Alex Sobel. But that's just one interesting story from the night, of course. There were many others. Remember 2015 and Morley and Atwood and Andrea Jenkins, who stole that seat from Ed Balls. She had a slim majority, just 422. Well, last night she increased that to just over 2,000. Elsewhere, Labour's safe seats of Rachel Reeves in Leeds West, Fabian Hamilton in Leeds North East and Richard Bergen in Leeds East were held. But there was almost a disastrous loss for the Tories in Pudsey. Stuart Andrew holding on by just 300 votes. So an interesting night, and in the studio we have Professor Brendan Evans from the University of Huddersfield and MP re-elected Hilary Benn. We'll get to them in just a moment or so, but first let's hear from Joe Robinson, who has the story of them. Who's 52 and Hazel, who's 27, are now set to open up their own studio. Their relationship does surprise some people, but the duo focus their classes on the gymnastic skills rather than sexy dance moves. Certainly is a special bond. Well, earlier today I caught up with Hazel and Dave over Skype. Hazel, Dave, thanks for joining me today. First of all, it's nice to see that your experience on Britain's Got Talent hasn't fazed you. You're about to open this studio. Now, I know that some people are still taken aback by seeing this relationship. What do you say to people when they question it? Amazing stuff. Well, Bren is still on his travels, so earlier I spoke to him over Skype. Well, Brendan, thanks for coming on the programme today. I believe you're in Uganda at the moment. We'll get onto that in just a minute or so. We've seen the video. I would be absolutely terrified, but what was it like for you?
Man, it was amazing. And, it's all relative, dude. Different people are scared of different.
Yes, welcome to the programme. I'm Mark Kielesz-Levine. First tonight, it's been a difficult 24 hours for Leeds United, to say the least. At midday yesterday, the club unveiled their new crest, designed, they said, after consulting 10,000 fans and people across the city. However, what followed was an unprecedented backlash, with thousands of fans objecting and calling on the club to change its mind. Leeds was also ridiculed on social media by fans of other teams, by other professional clubs, and was trending throughout the UK all afternoon. Over 70,000 supporters have now signed a petition asking the club to reconsider, and it looks to have been effective, as now the club say they will go back to consulting fans once again. We'll get to that in just a moment, but first, here was Managing Director Angus Kinnear yesterday morning before the reveal.
Our view in terms of how a club's run is it should be run by the fans for the fans. We will, Andre has a long-term vision for the club. We want to be here for a long term, but we also accept that the fans were here before us and they'll be here after us as well. So it's got to be done through consultation. I think if you look at any of the successfully run clubs throughout the world, they all have one thing in common, and that's they put the fans at the heart of everything they do.
Yeah, an important message that was yesterday. Angus Kinnear, the managing director. Well, the club published a statement today thanking supporters for feedback and adding, the volume and depth of opinions expressed reinforce the level of passion our fan base has for our club. While the current board of directors and custodians of Leeds United, the fans will always be at the heart of everything we do, and you will be listened to. Going on to say, we also appreciate the need to extend the consultation with supporters, and we are committed to working with you to create an identity we can all be proud of. We will release further information on how supporters can get involved in the process next week. Well, you've been having your say over the past day or so on our social media page as well. On Facebook, Elliot Binks says, there's no way this was created by somebody who supports Leeds. It's a problem with modern football at a lot of clubs or agencies, jobs done by people who don't know football. Where's the white rose for starters? But Johnny Flanagan was one of the few to like it, saying, I love it, the Leeds salute, recognised all over the world. See a fellow Leeds fan with a shirt on. Wherever you are, do the Leeds salute, and they know. He was one of the few that did like it. Chris Davis says, keep the white rose. In my opinion, just change the font for LUFC. That's all that's needed. On Twitter, Kev says, absolutely shocking. Chili Moore, meanwhile, again asked where the Yorkshire Rose had gone. Mr. B added, that is terrible. And Nick Stavris used a meme to basically say, over my dead body. Such is the passion from Leeds fans across the city in regards to that badge. Well, in our Twitter poll, we asked you, do you love or hate it? 93% of you said you hated it. On Facebook, 89% of you preferred the current badge to the one the club unveiled, of course. You've also been designing yours too, and the Yorkshire Rose is a popular feature in most of them. We'll keep you across this as it develops, which it almost certainly will in the next few weeks. Well, elsewhere today, initial roundtable discussions have been taking place at Leeds Town Hall regarding the implementation of a clean air zone for the city.